Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Friday, August 22nd, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Black Voters Matter. They're expanding their mission beyond protecting black voting rights. The organization is focusing on uplifting black communities with the relaunch of its We Fight Back campaign. We'll talk with the co-founders, LaTosha Brown and Cliff Albright. In a narrow 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court sides with Donald Trump over cutting nearly $800 million in federal research grants connected to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Congress, we see how they are screwing up because that's their right. Black Connecticut State Representative Corey Parris says he's received hate-filled threats after being falsely accused of doxing sensitive information about ICE agents. He'll join us to tell his side of the story. The U.S. Department of Education says George Mason University violated civil rights laws by factoring in race and other personal characteristics during hiring and promotion decisions. They also have been trying to fire or get the university president, who's a brother, to resign. Donald Trump threatens to send the federal guard, National Guard, to Chicago and New York, although he has no legal authority to actually do so. And John Bolton, who served Trump as a top national security official, had his home raided. Former Congressman Val Demings, let's just say she said, chickens are coming home to roost. It's a whole lot I want to talk about. And it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. On the Black Star Network, let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin.
In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court has allowed Donald Trump and his cohorts to cut nearly $800 million in federal research grants associated with diversity, equity, and inclusion. The ruling overturns a lower court's decision and allows the National Institutes of Health to withdraw existing funding. Health and education leaders warn this action will inflict long-lasting damage on critical scientific and medical research. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson issued a strong dissent, while the majority claimed that distributing the grants would cause irreparable harm to the government. I don't know how that's going to be the case. Now, for now, the court has blocked Trump's new anti-DEI rules for future funding, but hundreds of millions of dollars for current projects are still at risk. Now, here's the problem here. This was money that Congress allocated. And this is how Republicans aren't doing their job. They are ceding their legal authority to the executive branch. And trust me, when the Democrat is sitting in the Oval Office, you know they're going to be yelling and screaming about how, oh my God, this is so unfair. Folks, we're talking about cuts that deal with research, that deal with the inequities between black and white people. But when you have white nationalists and racists now running the government, this is no shock. Michael Imhotep is the host of the African History Network show out of Detroit. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi. Dr. Julian Malveaux, economist, president emerita, Bennett College, author of Surviving and Thriving, 365 Facts in Black Economic History. Y'all show the book. Y'all don't have a book? Now, y'all supposed to, okay, y'all, when we do, I keep telling y'all, we have authors. Thank you. See, y'all got to show the book. Come on now, y'all got to keep up now. Let's go. All right, let's get right down to it. I'll start with you, Julian. This is real simple. These thugs, these racists, we see how they are, how they operate. But again, the real problem here, Congress allocated the money. And so Trump is acting like, oh, I have the right to do whatever I want, and these idiot Republicans are letting him. And so this is why I say to the next Democrat in the White House, hopefully after 2028, return the favor. All right, so we have issues with Julian's audio. Y'all got to let me know this stuff, y'all. Okay, let's go to Matt. Matt, I want to take the question. Please fix Julian's audio.
Might see my little fan.
Okay, guys, I can't hear Matt. What are we doing?
Actually, I think that was my fault, Roland. Can you hear me
Matt,
now?
go ahead.
Yeah, that was my mistake, not your staff. I apologize. I was on mute. But nonetheless, what I was saying is, I think you're right. I think what's going to happen is when a Democrat is in the White House and he or she tries to exercise the same authority, they're going to say, you don't have the power to do that. You're usurping the power of Congress. And what I still do not understand is why people in Congress en masse are continuing to capitulate to this president and ceding their own power. If Congress has the power of the purse, then of course the president has to be able to use, that some of those allotted monies in their administration of the executive branch. However, they don't get to just by and large decide what Congress has appropriated is not going to go where it's supposed to go, because that's constitutional. And the thing about this that's especially problematic is you're talking about research grants. You're talking about what helps not only America move forward, what helps us solve diseases, or cure diseases and solve major societal problems. So taking this money away under the guise of DEI hurts everybody, black and white, and people of all colors. And it's stupid. It's just a matter of them flexing their authority. But what you see the Supreme Court allowing this administration to continue to do is to try to grab more ground. And the problem's going to be, it's not going to be able to be retracted no matter who's in the office, in the next administration. And you're going to have a problem where the balance of power is forever affected by this administration's continued usurpation of power.
And listen, I keep saying this, Michael. If this is how Republicans want to roll, Democrats should say, oh, let's be clear. We are going to return the favor.
Yeah, absolutely. Return the favor, take notes, understand what's going on, understand that this is how dictatorships come into power. This is taking away power from the legislative branch of government. The power of the purse, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7 of the U.S. Constitution, if I remember correctly. The power to tax and spend belongs to Congress. Donald Trump is continuing to test the boundaries of the executive branch's authority. And he continues to get these wins in this 6-3 conservative Supreme Court that he helped set up with the help of the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society. And for those that don't know, the Heritage Foundation are the ones that put out Project 2025. So, yes, as we see in California, as we see Governor Gavin Newsom just signed into law to be able to put on the ballot the redistricting maps. California is fighting back. Democrats in California are fighting back against this authoritarian regime. And we're going to have to fight all across the country. We see Trump saying now, next he's going to probably go into Chicago with at least the National Guard to crack down on crime, et cetera. Once again,
hold on, Michael, one second. I'm going to get to that. I want to stay on the money. I want to stay on the money.
It's all connected, but go ahead. I understand.
No, actually, it's not connected. That's separate. I'm going to deal with that later. I got to stay on the money because the whole point, here's the whole point here, and this is the problem, and Matt, you nailed it. The problem is this here. What they are essentially saying is, whatever bill Congress passes, we can then do whatever the hell we want to. Now, previous presidents tried to do a line item veto. The Supreme Court said that's not allowed. Matt, this is a backdoor line item veto. This is literally, I mean, again, what I don't understand is how can a Supreme Court act as if Congress doesn't matter? The Constitution is clear. Anything dealing with money begins in the House. It begins in the House. Congress appropriates. Then it goes to the Senate. And they're just sitting here going, hey, King Trump, go right ahead.
Yeah, look, appropriation and administration are not the same thing. So if Congress appropriates it, even if the White House can administer that money through its executive policy, they're not the primogenitor of that money. The money doesn't come from them. It comes from Congress. And the problem with that is, one, if you want to have any semblance of the balance of power, this actually affects the Supreme Court down the line. You're not seeing it yet. But Congress, one of the checks that Congress actually has on the federal judiciary is the money it allots to the federal judiciary, right? So when the judges want raises or if the federal judiciary across the board needs more money, that ultimately comes from Congress. So what you see sometimes when the federal judiciary is making decisions that Congress doesn't like, Congress can either pass legislation or they can decide to rescind some of that money that goes to the judiciary. I say that to say, when you are recognizing through court rulings that the executive can continue to grab more power, that affects your bottom line. Because if down the road he or she doesn't like you and they want to say that the money Congress appropriated to you is not going to go to you, then it will not go to you. And it seems to me to be a dangerous precedent to set rather than standing firm on the constitutional balance of power that is supposed to exist.
Well, again, they're just sitting here and like it's no big deal. And I need people to understand this is a cult we're dealing with, and they're going to allow their cult leader to do whatever it is they want to do. Now, we have a responsibility to do what we have to do. And so coming up next, we're going to talk with Black Voters Matter about what they are doing to fight what is going on to get our people fully engaged in this battle. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Next on A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network, we're talking what it means to be a balanced young adult and turning 21. I know 21 is one of those ages where you think you're grown. You can do whatever you want. The law says that you can. But what are you packing in your 21-year-old toolkit that will allow you to not only survive, but to thrive?
You have every right to make whatever decision that you want to make, okay? Because you're grown. Don't go out here and do something and then want to come back and expect somebody else to clean it up for you.
That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
What's good, y'all? This is Doug E. Fresh, and you're watching my brother Roland Martin Unfiltered as we go a little something like this. Hit it. It's real.
Folks, I've consistently said what is taking place right now is what Donald Trump and these MAGA idiots are trying to do. They're trying to defund Black America. They are attacking every single thing in Black America. They are attacking civil rights, economic rights. They're attacking academia. They're attacking everything. And so we have to be completely and fully engaged in this. This is a battle, y'all, that deals with everything that matters to us. Unprecedented rollbacks in civil rights, access to health care, equity, environmental justice, you name it. So folks at Black Voters Matter, they're expanding their mission beyond protecting the rights of Black voters. They now are focused on supporting Black communities, relaunching We Fight Back campaign. This was launched in 2024. The campaign aims to educate and empower Black voters across the country. BVM is not only fighting against a fascist regime and racist policies, they're also building a campaign to reimagine democracy. Joining us right now, the co-founders, Cliff Albright, Latasha Brown. Glad to have hear y'all on the show. So I'll start with you, Latasha. So walk us through what this means, okay? When you say we fight back, exactly what does this look like? Is this a series of town halls? Is it online engagement? So exactly what is this?
Is a little of all of that. I'll just say that setting the framework that what we believe is we believe that our greatest source of power and protection in this moment is to actually have an informed community, that we're actually moving in one move, that we're aligned around, we're understanding what is happening, we understand the issues, but that we're connected. It has always been our collective power and the leverage of our collective power that's moved us forward. And so for what that means for us is there are a series of things that we do a lot of organizing with local communities. We believe that this is the moment now for us to really solidify our power locally and in our state. That we know in terms of federally, like we see what's happening on the federal government level. And so our best protection is to really gather ourselves and align with the power that we have locally and on the state level. And as a result, what we do is we work with partners all throughout those states. We provide funding. We're actually having meetings and calls. We're doing briefings around what's happening from the executive orders to what's happening to some of the rollbacks. We're actually doing strategy sessions where we're bringing our states. In the last month alone, in the last 2 weeks alone, several of our states and the partners, anywhere from 50 to 100 partners, are actually meeting together, thinking about how do they build a strategy. Number one, to protect our community. Number two, to really be able to resist and push back. In addition to the bus tours that we're doing to actually inform folks, we have campaigns that are happening. Campaigns really around this attack on Medicaid and how that's going to impact health access to our communities. We're also doing, we know that that is really important, that criminal justice reform, we're not ending that because what is happening now, that's very important for us. So we're continuing to do the work around warrant clinics and expand that, where hundreds and thousands of debt, we're working to eliminate hundreds of thousands of debt for people in our communities to make us less vulnerable to the police, less vulnerable to being in the system. Those are some of the things, and I'll share Cliff to may want to raise some other things as well that we're doing.
Cliff, I have long said that a year out, first of all, y'all believe the same thing I believe. There's no such thing as election season. That's right. It's 365, 7 days a week, because there are elections happening somewhere in the country all the time. And the phrase that I keep using is the need to, let's say, a year out. We know the midterms are in 2026, but your primaries are going to be beginning in the spring in a lot of these places. And we need to be operating right now in what I call inform, educate, and enlighten. Because we have to also recognize it's a lot of folk that simply don't know. I was on Ricky Smiley's show this morning, and talking about redistricting and gerrymandering and racist gerrymandering and the Supreme Court case where they could wipe out half of the Congressional Black Caucus. And so I think for so long, Cliff, people kept assuming people knew. And we can't assume people know what's actually happening.
That's right, and we have to make it clear, because there's a lot. I mean, there's those of us that do this work every day, and there's still pieces of it that we don't necessarily know about all the time. There's still ins and outs. Even these battles that we're talking about redistricting, these are maps that were done, going back after the 2020 census, that were done all throughout 2021. And so there were all kinds of meetings and sessions and hearings around these maps that a lot of people didn't know anything about. And so part of what we try to do, and you talked about it, the 365 work, we do it all throughout the year, and we do it every year. It's not even just about 28 or about 26. Even this year, we've been doing that work. We've been having BVM days at the Capitol, where we get together community members and partner organizations and go to the Capitol, and it is an educational process. We're not looking for folks that are so-called experts on this, right? We let everybody know that there's a role to play, and if you don't know, then that's even better, right? We make people feel comfortable with the fact that they don't know, because sometimes we just assume, like you said, that people not even understand this whole legislative process, but even the basic voting process. We come across people all the time when we do our work, when we do our bus tours, where we'll come across somebody and we'll give them some information about early voting or absentee voting or even just about what office is on the ballot. And we often will hear, I didn't know that. I've never known that. Or they'll say, I didn't know what this particular position did, right? I didn't know what a state delegate or a state house member did, or I didn't know what my county commissioner did. And so we got to let folks know, that it's not a crime or something that we could shame you about if you come to the table, you come to the event, and you're not already an expert. That's what this process is all about. That's what a dialogue is all about, right? And so, yes, we've got to make people know that we want you, even if you don't know any of this, and that's okay. But we got to work through all of this together, and we got to do it all throughout the year 365 because we fight back. Our issues are not based on an election calendar. Our oppression has never been based on an election calendar, so our resistance to it can't be based just on an election calendar.
Absolutely, and Gary Chambers is doing some work down in Louisiana, and I spoke in Ohio last month, Latasha, and it was so funny. I was sitting with the brother. He was laying out this comprehensive strategy, and I said to him, too convoluted. He was like, what do you mean? I said, you had 30,000 feet, and he's a professor. I said, that's election. And we were at dinner. And he was like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" I kept saying, I kept evoking. It kept evoking my man Joe Madison. So you got to put it where the ghost can get it. And he was like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" I said. So I said, "Give me your topics." He gave me his topic. I said, "Those are lectures." I said, "Your sessions need to be City Hall 101, County Government 101." I said, where you literally are walking people through what city government does, what county government does. I said, basic fundamentals. Because I think the issue that we saw, and all these people who were saying, Biden Harris haven't done this here, and the Democrats haven't done this here, and you're like, well, the Democrats in the House passed the bill, but it stalled in the Senate. You can't act like that didn't happen. And then when folks say, well, stuff ain't happening, then you go, well, no, this happened, and this happened, and this happening in this state, and this happened in this state. It's amazing to me when I talk to people, a lot of folk who got their degrees and everything, they actually just don't know how politics works.
Roland, I think you're absolutely right, which is why our strategy has always been threefold. I think of it as a three-legged fold of table of what the work that we do. One, it's been about money, movement, and message. Money in the sense that we know that grassroots groups, there are people that know. There are folks in our communities that are on the front lines that are doing this day in and day out. Matter of fact, part of our survival is because there's been grassroots groups, because we have Black media platforms like yours to get our message out, for us to be able to connect, because we have Black organizations that we can get information or that will respond to something that's happening. That has been part of our survival and our ability to be able to progress. And so we need to make sure that we're getting money to platforms such as yours, organizations like ours, so that we're really Black controlled and we're actually being able to have the freedom from the mis and disinformation. The second thing I think is really important around movement building infrastructure, that if we're going to do this work, we got to really come together as community. It can't just be a one-off. Like part of what we saw oftentimes in the election cycles is that the parties will pick 2 or 3 issues, and then the issue is abortion. And if we're not talking about abortion, then there's nothing else that's being talked about on that platform. Many folks in our communities, that's not the top of their list of what they're concerned about. They're concerned about from medical access. They may be concerned about some of the chronic illnesses that are happening in our communities and seeing the cuts or the closures of hospitals. And so it's really important that we're doing that work as well. And then message. To your point, I think part of what we've seen is over the years, we've actually seen this misinformation and disinformation that is documented, that was targeted at Black voters. And so we have to really, in this moment, we've got to be real disciplined. We have to listen to credible, trusted messengers, people who time and time again, that you can actually follow along. They're bringing us good information and really be able to discern what information is not good or not, information is not relevant, or where the source is. The second thing is, I don't think it's going to be enough just to understand kind of the functions of government. We need to understand, yes, the functions of government, that's baseline, but we also need to understand, I always talk about this radical reimagining of what our North Star is. We've got to really get clear as a community of what it is that we want, so that we're not constantly responding to those who don't want, that we know that there are those who don't want us to have anything. And so I think it's real important in this moment that we don't just see this as a setback. We've got to see this as a setup. We can't just go and ask that we just want a bill or a policy passed. At this point, we need to say we want to see we want the whole thing. If there's going to be a realignment, let's get it right. That even the Voting Rights Act in itself was never enough. That Dr. King and them didn't think that that was the end. They thought that that was actually a space and that was an additional support, services of protection of our right to vote. And so we've got to even ask for more and even go and organize ourselves to ask for more.
One of the things that, Cliff, I was in Ohio, I was in Cincinnati last year, and a brother who's an alpha, I was in a restaurant, he was there with his daughter, and he came up to me and he greeted me, and he said they were doing voter registration the next day at the Bengals game. And I said, why? He goes, what do you mean? I said, why? I said, okay. I said, how much time are y'all gonna spend out there? So I said, you're gonna spend the pregame, you're gonna be there about 2.5 hours. I said, how many people are gonna come through there to register to vote? I said, I'm not saying that's not necessary. I said, but I'm very curious. I said, have y'all ever considered pulling the 20 or 25 blackest precinct in Cincinnati? He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, you can actually go get the data and see where the votes are, where African Americans registered. I said, where do they live? I said, then you can pull that and you'll be able to see who voted in the last election and who didn't. I said, so if you're talking about impacting elections, I said, and you have finite people, finite time, finite resources, I said, have a more targeted approach. He was so blown away by that. And then when I was in North Carolina, our former general president, Everett Ward, got a group of brothers together. And I said the exact same thing. I said, y'all in North Carolina. I said, do y'all know how many black people did not vote in Sherry Beasley's Supreme Court justice race? How many black people did not vote in the last election? I said, this is how we have to target our time, energy, and resources. And they were shocked because they were trying to take this macro approach. I said, but really, if we want to move black numbers, it actually has to be a micro approach, which is really person, door to door, street by street, block by block, precinct, neighborhood.
Yeah, and so you're absolutely right, and what our approach is usually really to actually do a combination of those, right? And I think Latasha touched on it a little earlier when she was talking about the layering of the approach, because we certainly need those things that are very micro, right? That are targeting, okay, who exactly is it that we know that we got to reach? What's their demographic? Where do they go? What do they listen to? All that stuff, right? But then we also layer it with different levels of some of the wider stuff. And so, we have this belief that if you get a couple of text messages from us, a couple of phone calls, you get a door knock, then you see that billboard while you're on your way driving to work, and then you see something on YouTube, because sometimes we do our YouTube ads, that because you did one of our Trump ain't shit videos last year, right? And so we believe that if we can do the combination of like the wide visibility, we call it the visibility work, and then combine that with like the real macro, we want to touch you at your door on your phone. That's when we tend to get maximum input. And what we found last year, we targeted 3.2 million black voters who had not voted in 2020, right? And out of those 3.2, 50% of them turned out in 2024, right? Now, some of y'all might say, well, 50%, that's not a huge number, but mind you, this is 3.2 million, not folks that were new registered, right? That they were unregistered in 2020, and then they got registered by 24. These were folks who were registered in 20, who consciously decided, I'm not voting. Y'all ain't moving me. And 50% of those folks that we targeted, they turned out. That's on top of like the other folks that we target that, they're kind of regular. They might even be super voters. We got them to turn out too. But we know how to get those folks that, for one election, we're like, y'all not doing nothing for me. I'm not going to turn out. And then finding a way to communicate through that combination of the targeted, the micro, and the macro to get them to turn out. So, so you're absolutely right, though, because there's a lot of folks that won't do that micro that you're talking about.
And see, Latasha, the reason I say that to the brother, because y'all are operating as a chapter. And so you talked about infrastructure, and I've said this to alphas nationally. I said, listen, we have undergrad chapters, grad chapters. I said, but you have a local chapter, then you've got your combination of your chapters in the city, then you've got your state chapters, then you got your region, and then you got national, international. And so what I say to folk is, I said, if you're local, stop trying to be in somebody else's city. I said, be in your city, and then take your city and then break your city down by sections of the city, by neighborhoods, and then block, street, houses. And the brother was like, damn, I'm taking that. And so I had another chapter. They hit me up and they said, dude, can you do a session? And when I walked them through, they were like, damn, we ain't thought about that. And that's why I think what we have to do, those of us in Black-owned media, what y'all do as well, is literally walk people through, because I think a lot of people, Latasha, go, man, that's a whole lot. It's like, no, I don't need you to do a whole lot. Can you knock on 5 doors? Then they go, yeah, I can knock on 5 doors. I'm like, got it. Now you go get 5 other people, and now the 5 of y'all, like go get 6 of y'all, go knock on 5 doors each. Now we got 30 doors. And they go, well, that's doable. And so I think sometimes we just got to make this thing easy for people and not make it complicated.
I agree. I think there's a couple of things that you said, because I do want to note, I think it's simple law of multiplication, right? Literally, you organize, and let's be clear.
Or what our mamas and daddies said, baby, that's basic math.
That's basic math, right? And the other piece around it too is for us to really look at, there's nothing new under the sun. If you go back and you look at Black machines, Black political machines,
right?
How you got the first Black mayor of Atlanta, the first Black mayor of Chicago. When you start looking at how Black people start getting into political office, quite frankly, it was because of organizing, and it was a map of organizing street by street, block by block, town by town. But let me say this, I think that it's not just a matter of organizing the votes. We really got to think about, we are in a different environment. Whether people want to acknowledge it or not, we're in fascism, right? Yep. The rules, all the rules that we knew, all the rules, all of those things we're seeing every single day. We're hearing the president talk about he doesn't like mail-in ballots. He's going to get rid of mail-in ballots. He technically doesn't even have the ability to be able to do that. He doesn't have, but he's saying that because he's planting a seed, because what we're seeing is the letter of the law they don't believe applies to them. Yep. And so what does that mean for us? If we're actually going to engage with folks that don't believe that they've got to follow the law, or they're above the law, what that means is we've got to lean into our own power. Part of that is we have to organize every bit of power. We've got to organize our resources. We've got to organize how we direct what it is that we focus on, and organize and really tap into each other. As you were saying, information is valuable. And so people's got to get information, but we can't just stay there. And we can't believe that we just gonna vote ourselves out of here. As much as I am for voting, right, that in itself will not be enough, but we cannot leave that tool on the table, because this next election cycle, like when people are not supporting our community, there has to be consequences. There has to be consequences. We got to get so sophisticated. Some people may not agree with this. We got to get so sophisticated that if folks turn all of these districts, and I know there's some Democrats gonna get upset about me saying this, if they are turning these districts where it is impossible for a Republican not to win, then we got to figure out how we're going to make sure that we're impacting that election, even that primary. We've got to be sophisticated. We have no permanent friends. We have permanent interests, and that is the protection of Black people. So I think it's really important in this moment for us to really understand we've got to organize our resources very differently. We've got to put our money towards Black institutions. If you are not contributing to this show, we're seeing what mainstream media is doing. We're seeing what is going to be MSM now, MS now. We're seeing all of them capitulate and go to the right or center the right.
Yeah, I call it MSS, more silly shit. All right, I want to go to my panel. I want to get them some questions in. Do we have Julian? Julian, your audio finally working?
I'm here.
Lord have mercy. Here. Finally. Go on, ask your question. To Cliff and Latasha.
Okay, well, Latasha and Cliff, thank you for your work. We really appreciate it. I want to know, Cliff, you talked about the precinct by precinct, really block by block approach. Why have we not embraced this earlier? I remember, my political chops go way back. Jackson Delegate 84, but even before that. And we used to do that. What happened? Was it the internet? Why have we abandoned a strategy that we know works?
Well, did you want? I think it's a couple of things. And let me say this first, Dr. Malvo. A lot of people don't know this about me, but my early academic background was actually in economics and business, and you're actually one of the reasons why that was so. And so, I spent most of my organizing career combining, basically political economy, like the political analysis and economic analysis. And so I just wanted to shout you out for that and thank you for that. I think there's there's several reasons, right? I think the internet and social media is part of it, right? Where now we've got a lot of folks that feel like we can just use, and to be clear, it is a tool, right? But there's some people who have abandoned, what we've been talking about, the old school ways, and not just abandon it, but not just abandon in the sense that they've moved on, but even abandon in a way where like we look back at like traditional organizing, like, like that's ancient and that was backwards and that was like this negative connotation to some of the ways that we've always organized. So I certainly think that some of the technology is a part of that. I think that, also some of it is that we've been told that it doesn't work. Like even right now, we're still being told that it doesn't work. Like we're still being told that the things that we did to make such changes and to get election results in places like Georgia in 2020 and so many other places that, that doesn't work. See, that's how come 2024 happened and Trump was able to win, right? Which is not the case. But a lot of times what happens is, every time there's a loss or an apparent loss, people want to try to get you to change the way that you've done stuff. And a lot of times they're trying to get you to change it either because they know that it's successful and they want you to change course and to do some other stuff that won't be as strategic and as impactful. And then sometimes they want you to change because and again, I think that this is what's happening now in terms of progressive circles and democratic circles, because it's not their thing. And they'd rather that all the attention and all the resources be put in the stuff that they do. The advertising people want to tell you that doing door knocking and old school advertising doesn't work. And that's why all this fundraising needs to go into doing these ads, right? Which weren't effective in the last cycle because they couldn't counter the advertising, the disinformation that was coming from the other side, right? And so I think there's a lot of reasons. Some of it technology, some of it because different people have different motives, and sometimes people just simply, they don't want us to win and want us to doubt ourselves.
Well, I'm gonna put one thing on the table, and I did a whole thing on this before a couple of months ago, and I think it's still the case. And to Julian's question, I think the fundamental problem is we have gotten where we are today because there's been a group of black people who committed their lives to changing our communities. And those black people, they're retiring and they're passing away. And the problem is they're not being replaced. If anybody steps back and go, if you talk to anybody who's a baby boomer or Gen X, they probably can say, oh, Miss So-and-so. We all know in different communities, likely a Miss So-and-so, but also a Mr. So-and-so who worked precincts, did elections, every single election. Well, guess what? They now 70, 75, 80, 85. They tired. And meant something, they retired, they moved on, again, or passed away. So the problem is, these are the people who went to city council meetings, who went to county commissioners meetings, who kept us informed. And the problem is those people have not been replaced, Latasha. And if we really look at Florida, North Carolina, and y'all know, y'all interface with those folks. And you see them sisters and them brothers out there, and listen, they in their 70s and 80s still trying to fight. And then you say, well, where's their backup? And that's part of the deal. So we literally, as black people, we actually have to replenish our black infrastructure, because what I have said is we've had now 2 generations. that's made a whole lot of withdrawals from the Black Bank of Justice, they ain't made many deposits.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I think it's a couple. I do think it's a little more nuanced, though. While I absolutely agree with you that where are the soldiers that are coming behind the generals to do this work, but I will also say that there have been some mechanisms in the last decade or so that has actually undermined Black organizing, Black infrastructure. You know, I can even go from the Obama campaign, and I know that may be controversial to some, but what we did not see that there were always Black political infrastructures in the South. You knew who the Black machine was in Alabama. If you had done any Black work, you knew who the machine was in Alabama. You knew who the machine was in Mississippi. You knew the machine. A lot of the infrastructure, to Reverend Jesse Jackson's credit, a lot of from 1984 and 1988 campaigns, there was a Black infrastructure in terms of how
he had a big ass coat.
Yes.
He had a big ass. People don't understand the number of Black city council members for the first time, county commissioners, sheriffs. I mean, Black people were elected to office for the first time ever in 84 and 88.
That's right. And so, so the approach was a Black political machine. We used Black media. We used Black consultants. We used Black organizers. There was a political machine that actually operated in many ways almost like an independent party in some instances, right? What we've actually seen is I can actually count to meetings that I was in over a decade again. I remember a meeting I was in with Melanie Campbell and some other leaders that literally we were saying that what you all are doing is undermining like this model of how we organize. We saw where there was this idea of going to technology, like it didn't count that when you go organize, you got to organize using a particular kind of technology. We saw it when it came to voter registration, that the other thing that we got to take on, now we got to take our blame, but voter suppression has worked. That many of that, when you see, there's very, very few organizations that are trying to do mass scale voter registration. You know why? Because it's costly, because 9 times out of 10, it is going to require a costly legal fight. That voter suppression has been killing us. It's been death by 1,000 cuts. And so it has been a combination. That's why we saw voter suppression efforts. Like it wasn't, even with the stripping of pre-clearance, all of those things have had an accumulative effect on our communities and dismantling what I call old school Black political machines. So there's a replenish issue, but there's also an issue in terms of the infrastructure and philanthropy. My last point, part of the reason why we created Black Voters Matter, we wanted to create a mechanism to get resources on the ground, because what we had seen is that a lot of the resources would go to candidate campaigns, and they would throw some dollars in the last 3 weeks of the campaign around the Negroes up, and that was all that you saw. What we decided is that if we're going to be in power, we needed to create some kind of mechanism to fund our politics, and as a result, we have actually contributed and invested over $52 million in grassroots. It might be 54. Is it 54, Cliff? I don't know, 52 or 54. Either way, $50+ million that we've actually written checks given directly to grassroots groups, hundreds of grassroots groups on the ground, because even the fickleness of philanthropy of, you might be important this time or not this time, we're always important to us. So there is a cumulative effect that ultimately what makes it clear that there's nobody that is going to look out for Black interests like Black people. And if that is the case, then we've got to think very differently how we utilize our resources and our money, our time, and our talent.
Question from Matt.
So my question for you, Cliff and Latasha, is specifically with respect to health equity. I'm interested in how what that looks like in terms of the push in the We Fight Back campaign. And the reason I ask is because I think that's kind of an untapped policy point as it relates to all Americans, frankly, but our healthcare system and just the unsustainability of it. And I'd be interested in seeing what that looks like, particularly with the campaign.
Yeah, thanks for that. You know, we have, even before the most recent attacks on healthcare and Medicaid, you know, for the past couple of years, we've been doing some work around Medicaid expansion, trying to get the remaining 10 states, most of which are in the South, to actually expand Medicaid. The most recent victory on that actually came from North Carolina, where our team and our partners there in North Carolina have been doing a lot of work to get Medicaid expanded there, to get Obamacare expanded there. And so we had been doing that work already. We call it our Sick and Tired campaign. And we got some of our bus tours and baby bus tours that'll go around just doing a whole bunch of info sessions around the realities of healthcare, letting people know like how many people in their state could get it if it was expanded. You know, we've got movies and the documentaries that we show sometimes, including one that I'm in, talking about my own personal story with battles around health and healthcare. It's called In Due Season, and we go around and we've done like many town halls. We'll show that and then have a conversation. And so we try to use a variety of tools again, and to have these conversations, because we know that that's an important issue in our communities, obviously. But we also know that that's a conversation that then does what? It drives some people who may not have been involved in the electoral process to get involved. And that's the way that we do all of our organizing, right? We don't focus on the election process. I mean, we do sometimes when we talk about voting rights and voter suppression, but we're not just going around telling people with a clipboard, hey, have you registered? Sign this, right? It's about, hey, tell me about what issue you care about. Right? What is it that you are most concerned about, that you want to see for yourself, your family, your community? And now let's have a conversation about how we can make that a reality and how elections are a part of that. But it's not the only way, right? There's other forms of organizing that we do to get to the ends that we want, including around healthcare and Medicaid expansion. So that's the way that we do our work. Obviously, now we're also focused on the big ugly bill and the attacks that is bringing against our healthcare and everything else that's in that bill that's going to be attacked, our food insecurity and everything else. But yeah, we've always been concerned with and organizing around healthcare writ large and Medicaid expansion in particular.
Michael.
All right, Cliff and Latasha. So my question is, how do we connect political empowerment and like the work that you're doing? How do we connect that with leveraging our economics to enforce our political agenda and communicating that with people? For instance, the economic boycotts against Target because of them going back on their DEI, cutting back on their DEI programs, things like this. And then also we've seen efforts in the past, like in New York in 2017, divesting from pension funds that using pension funds to divest from privatized prisons because they found out they were invested in privatized prisons. How do we connect all of that together?
You know, all of it goes back, and I know we say it almost like a broken record, but it all goes back to organizing. Almost in all of our elements, even what the work that we do, there's going to be an education component to it, connected to the campaign. There's going to be an advocacy component to it, and there's going to be an organizing component to it, and that we're thinking about that. Even as we were doing work around voter suppression, there was an economic pressure point that we had with that. We didn't just base on, we educated people around what was happening. We organized our groups together to really think about strategy. And one of the strategies that we used, we actually targeted even some of our county places. We targeted those elected officials who were supporting voter suppression, that many of them were targeted even at the local county level, where they had contracts with their county as the local attorney or some kind of vendor. Those contracts got canceled or pushed back by local folks. Mm-hmm. We saw a broad base where we did a huge campaign around companies who we felt like should have been standing with Georgia. They might have been like, what we got to do with it? It's like, you got everything to do with it. If you get black money, you got something to do with it. And so I think it's a matter of trying to make sure that we're doing our pressure points. I'm saying that because I think it's important to your point around the economic. It can't come in a vacuum. This idea of we just going to build enough wealthy folks and that's going to save us. How is that working out for us? I was just been talking about the other day that 5 years post-slavery, there were over 2,000 schools that were started. There were 60 cities, 60 hospitals. There were over 1,200 towns that were founded. In Texas alone, they called them freedom colonies. There were 500 freedom colonies, just in Texas alone. My point is that I'm sorry, not 500, 57. My point is Black people were thinking more in terms of self-determination, right? Possibly because we had to. But what we were doing is we were thinking as builders that we've got to build the infrastructure to support ourselves. In this mechanism, we have to do all the things. Yes, we've got to push. That's why we support reparations with the work that we're doing, that there has to be a larger issue that is just not economic. You can't have a 200, 400 head start, use our bodies as collateral and leverage to build wealth in this country, use our label to exploit and build in this country, and then look at us and try to figure and say, well, we don't understand why you're doing. No, we want our money. We want our money that we've invested, that we want our money that we've earned, that what we've put the value in this country, we want that. And I think it is also important for us to think now, how are we connecting the tools in such a way that we can circulate more of the dollar in our communities? What are some new economic models we need to look at? Are we looking at cooperatives? Are we looking at how do we build Black businesses in a way that we're doing a distribution of resources in a much different way that will work for our people, opposed to what we're seeing on mainstream? So there's a combination of pieces that we use in terms of, one, figuring out how we educate and inform folks, two, figure out how we organize us to be able to leverage our power, and then three, have some real concrete alternatives that are not based on what we see right now.
Well, you talked about money, and I've said to people, listen, don't give money to candidates, give that money to Black Voters Matter. We need to have money that goes directly on the ground, that we know that white media strategists are not going to be sucking up the money as well, and then is much better to use. Last point here, first of all, how y'all going to wear y'all Black Voters Matter dashiki and y'all ain't tell nobody?
First off, we didn't even coordinate this, so I'm actually surprised. When Cliff got on, I was like, oh, okay, Cliff.
I mean, y'all.
We rocking Black and proud these days. Listen, we gonna remind America, reminding us, and we reminding America who we are.
Okay, so I mean, this was just night before last. Turn the audio up. I don't understand why y'all come on, turn the audio up. So my man Latasha Brown, my man Cliff Albright, they knew different African tops I had, so they sent me this dashiki Black Star. Matter of fact, I'm gonna stand right in front. So so they sent me. I got it. They sent me this. This Black Voters Matter dashiki, so y'all see what it looks like right here. This is what it looks like on the back. And so then they have, you see right here, they got BVM on the sleeves as well. So not sure if they have it on their website. I think they do. So go to blackvotersmatter.com if y'all. All right, so people ask me, so if they want one, where they get it?
Well, this one is kind of special. I don't think they can order this one, can they, Cliff?
I think we have one version of it on the website.
Okay.
Double check, but they could go to our website, blackvotersmatterfund.org. In the menu somewhere on there it says shop, and it's got our shirts and hoodies, and I'm pretty sure that there's one of these dashikis on there. If there's not, shoot us an email and we'll see if we could get it added.
Man, y'all better move some product.
We need to move some product, though.
Man, y'all better move some. Listen, y'all better hold. I'm checking right now. Let's see here. Shop.
Is it on there?
Listen, y'all. We gonna have to talk.
What's up?
Y'all shop button ain't working. Look right here. Look, I'm clicking. I click shop.
Oh, well, we got to get that fixed.
Y'all got to get that. Come on now.
That will get fixed. Listen, they ain't got to worry about tell them to try it in an hour. We going to get it fixed.
All right.
We get it fixed
tonight. All right.
But before we go, Roland, I gotta say just a quick word. If we still got a minute, I gotta say a quick word about what's going on with DC and what's going on.
Yeah, I got 60 seconds because I got a guest waiting. Go ahead.
Okay, 60 seconds. We all know, Roland's been talking about what's been going on in DC, the invasion in DC. We got a bunch of actions that we got on our website and on our social media. If you want to find out what's going on, two things. One, we got a Zoom webinar that we're doing tomorrow where we're going to be talking about DC. We could have some of the DC activists on there. We're going to talk about the calls to action that we have. We're doing a call campaign to get Congress to end the occupation of DC. We got another call campaign that we got in those 6 states that have sent National Guard. So we got folks in those states that are going to be making calls and organizing around that. So to find out more, you can text free DC to 25225. Free DC to 225, and it'll get you a link that you could get onto the Zoom webinar, and you can hear all that information and find out about those calls to action. We got to be clear that what's going on in D.C. right now is not just about D.C. It's coming to all of our cities. We got to stop it in D.C. right now.
All right, then. And I'm quite sure I'll be seeing y'all on the road in the fall. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Roland.
All right, folks, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You want to contribute via Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Click the Cash App button to contribute. Checks and money order. Make them payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, we welcome the Black Star Network's very own Roland Martin, who joins us to talk about his new book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. The book explains so much about what we're going through in this country right now, and how, as white people head toward becoming a racial minority, it's going to get, well, let's just say, even more interesting.
We are going to see more violence. We're going to see more vitriol, because as each day passes, it is a nail in that coffin.
The one and only Roland Martin on the next Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change,
300,000 Black women being pushed out of the workforce.
This is shocking yet unsurprising.
So what happens when a bunch of Black mothers lose their federal job? Their kids are not being fed, their kids are not being taken care of, but that trickles down to the entire community structure, which may be built on the backs of Black mothers and Black women more broadly.
Tune in on the other side of change, only on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Now that Roland Martin is willing to give me the blueprint, hey, Cyrus, I need to go to Tyler Perry and get another blueprint because I need some green money. The only way I can do what I'm doing, I need to make some money. So you'll see me working with Roland. Matter of fact, it's the Roland Martin and Cheryl Underwood show. Well, should it be the Cheryl Underwood show and the Roland Martin show? Well, whatever show it's going to be good.
Well, the thug-in-chief continues his thuggish ways. Donald Trump is now threatening to take over Washington, D.C. Listen to this sheer stupidity.
And I'm tired of listening to these people say how safe it was before we got here. It was unsafe. It was horrible. And Mayor Bowser better get her act straight or she won't be mayor very long, because we'll take it over with the federal government, run it like it's supposed to be run. The numbers were horrible. It was a crime-infested rat hole. And they do have a lot of rats. We're getting rid of them, too.
Y'all, he's a liar. He's a liar. Doesn't support as well. And the folks at WJLA also did their own reporting about what's going on as well. And guess what? they're not arresting for folks for violent crime. Not doing that. It's actually a whole bunch of misdemeanors. That's what's actually going on. WJLA said that the White House, they said 7 News obtained a copy of the breakdown of each arrest outside of immigration and customs enforcement apprehensions, which show that the majority of the arrests and interactions aren't for violent crimes. It noted every documented arrest during the takeover, the U.S. Marshal Service says it's responsible for the overall operations. Outside of immigration enforcement, there have been 379 arrests documented. There were, according to them, give me 1 second. Let me pull this up again. I had an error here. There were 379 arrests documented. More misdemeanors and traffic citations than violent crime arrests. A total of 377 citations and quoted other arrests. Violent arrests, 9 arrests are recorded, which include homicide and sex crimes. He's a liar, Matt. He's a flat out liar. And the media stood there and allowed him to lie.
I mean, yeah, that's part and parcel of what we've seen them do with him. And, the reality is the facts don't matter. The data doesn't matter. I mean, I saw Larry Krasner recently just up the road in Philly talking about how Philly is at like its 50-year low, I think, in homicides this year. But what does Trump do? He comes out and says, Philly and Oakland and all these cities are dangerous, despite the data unequivocally showing that those places are safer than they have been because crime is down. And the reality is his base doesn't care about that. And for whatever reason, the media is not checking him on that. And that really is a huge problem, right? Because he can ideologically have whatever opinion he has, but he can't have the facts. And if the facts don't buttress what you're saying, then somebody should be calling you out saying, hey, you're saying that, but this is a 30-year low, so it really cannot be what you're saying it is. And therefore, the actions you're taking are not justified by the data, right, objectively. And that's what you're seeing here. And it's interesting because, as a former prosecutor, I saw this same thing on a very local level with conservatives. You know what they do? They talk tough on crime all the time. And then they would come sit in my office when Buffy got a little too drunk leaving the college, and they would tell me about how she deserves a second chance, right? But the black kids across town, the mongrels across town, are not supposed to get that opportunity. And that is at play in this very situation with Trump in D.C. Because even if the crime is down, it doesn't matter. You're not talking about the kids from Georgetown and George Washington and all the college kids. What he's trying to do is say all of these people in D.C. are criminals, and it doesn't matter what the data actually says about how the crime is down. I'm going to continue running with this narrative because I want to do what it is I want to do, which is overtake D.C., and this is the subterfuge for that. You see that on the local level, and you see that at play right now in D.C. and his overtaking of the district.
Michael, it's not just D.C. This is what the liar-in-chief said about Chicago and New York. Listen.
Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent, and we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this, and it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one, but they're wearing red hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies, are saying, please, President Trump, come to Chicago. Please. I did great with the black vote, as you know, and they want something to happen. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York, and we're going to help with. And I think a lot of these people that you see on television, they are, including the people in this audience, they'll say bad things about me, and then they'll say, thank God he's here, because half of them got mugged, and they don't want to get mugged again. But they work for stupid people that are radical left, and they're made to do things and say things that they don't want to be saying. But the people right here are all happy because you.
And here's the deal. J.D. Vance is standing there working for a stupid person, Michael, pure and simple.
Well, J.D. Vance is stupid as well. So what we have here, once again, is the authoritarian play. But authoritarians always go after the most vulnerable groups of people to target. They go after the people who are deemed as the least desirable. Adolf Hitler went after those who were handicapped, went after those who were part of the LGBT community. He also went after Afro-Germans. Here you see Donald Trump talking about Chicago. Well, the Huffington Post, they just posted their article, and he's saying, all these African American ladies want me to come in, things like this. But Huffington Post just posted, they said, considering Kamala Harris beat Donald Trump in Cook County, Illinois, by about 75% margin, there were a lot of social media skeptics to what he's saying. But this is the model that he's trying to roll out across the country. Okay, now it's going to be harder in other states like Illinois and California, things like this, because they actually have governors, where Washington, D.C. does not. But this is why we have to fight this, okay? This is the playbook. And this is straight out of Project 2025, as Robert Patillo said yesterday. I think it was yesterday on your show, where he talked about page 555 for Project 2025. This is what they're laying out, and they're spewing racism to justify this authoritarian takeover.
Yep. And Julian, here's the deal. First of all, it's some black woman who is, I think, a quasi-fitness person who's one of them Trumper and read something. I don't know what the hell. I don't listen to them at all. But here's the whole deal here, Julian. First and foremost, he just can't roll up in Chicago. See, he just can't declare an emergency in Chicago. No, that ain't how this works. And he's going to get his ass sued and he's going to lose. Trust me, Chicago ain't gonna respond the same way you see it in D.C. Okay, so we see what this fool is doing, but you notice there are 8 out of the top 10 homicide states. There are 8 of them are red. He ain't talking about going to those states, is he?
Well, he said the irony of him sending the National Guard here. It is a horrible irony.
Yeah, especially with they broke ass.
With they not only with their broke asses, but also with their crime-ridden asses. I mean, go to Jackson, Mississippi. He's afraid to do that. But let me tell you, downtown D.C., and in the past week, we have seen off 14th Street, where it's a young people central. This guy who runs a restaurant, a kind of clubby place, said last Saturday night, he said they had about 30% of the people they usually have. 2 couples on the dance floor. I was walking up 14th Street, and anyway, I saw these 2 young brothers, very attractive young brothers. They were so clean cut. And this person stopped them, asked them for ID. One of the young brothers said, my daddy is a lawyer, I don't have to give you nothing. The woman, it was a black woman, National Guard, and she started clowning them. I just walked over. I said, young man, do me a favor. And this lets they were well-bred. They said, yes, ma'am. I said, keep walking. I said, just keep walking. You don't have to deal with her. And she told me, well, can you give me your ID? I bust out. I'm like, fool, have you lost what little piece of mind you used to have? What are you doing here? You can't arrest anybody. You're just harassing people. But up and down 14th Street, they're going restaurant to restaurant, Roland. Up in Shepherd Park, restaurant to restaurant in Adams Morgan, asking people if any of their employees are undocumented. I live in a police state. We live in a police state. And the fact that the man is selling wolf tickets that he cannot cash. He cannot get any governor of a blue state. Kathy Hochul, Pritzker, these people are not going to call their National Guard out for this nonsense. Plus, crime in D.C. is down. But what he's doing is imposing a climate of fear, a climate of intimidation, so that some of our, it's not even undocumented people, some people who are documented, but who are also Latino, are afraid to get on certain days. They've been standing outside churches and schools. It is total intimidation. We in the African American community, we have to stand up against it. I mean, we're standing up. You had the best in terms of voting on just a bit ago, Latasha and Cliff. But we have to, what did James Bond say? When they come, somebody else said it. If they come for me in the morning, they come for you tonight.
And guess what? I'm trying to figure out
people is going to happen to us.
I'm trying to figure out where are all these FBA Negroes? Where are all these foundational black Americans? They would tweet me all the time, and they were like, oh yeah, this ain't going to impact us. They ain't coming for us. Where all the FBA, what are FBA B1 ADOS folks? Boy, it's amazing how quiet they are on my timeline. It's amazing how quiet they are on my timeline. All right, let me go to a break. We're going to come back. We're going to deal with this state representative who is getting, the people are coming after him for saying he did something he didn't do. We're going to talk to him next. Also, we're going to show y'all how Trump is a liar. They are criticizing the Smithsonian's Latino Museum for saying that the Texas Revolution was about slavery. It was. But they're idiots in the White House. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, Black Americans have 1/10 the wealth of their white counterparts. But how did we get here? It's a huge gap. Well, that's why we need to know the history and what we need to do to turn our income into wealth. Financial author and journalist Rodney Brooks joins us to tell us exactly what we need to do to achieve financial success.
You can't talk about why we are, as Black people, where we are, unless you talk about how we got here.
Bridging the Gap and Getting Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
How you doing? My name is Mark Carey, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered, deep into it, like pasteurized milk without the 2%. We getting deep. You want to turn that shit off? We're doing an interview, motherfucker.
Black Connecticut state lawmaker Corey Paris has received hate-filled threats after being falsely accused of doxing sensitive information about U.S. immigration and custom enforcement agents. According to Paris, the controversy began when he posted a message on Instagram informing his followers that he had learned of immigration enforcement efforts in his district and wanted to warn residents to, quote, remain vigilant. Shortly after that, this far-right activist, Shaya Raichik, known as Libs of TikTok, they've been targeting lots of people, tagged ICE's official account and urged the agency to, quote, charge him. The following day, ICE officials reshared the post and tagged the Department of Justice's account. Corey Paris joins us right now. Glad to have you here, Representative Paris. So they claim, and see, Libs of TikTok is known to lie. They're known to lie, okay? So they claim you posted sensitive information as if you posted somebody's name, home address, who their husband and wife is, and where their kids go to school.
That's right. And Roland, thank you for having me. And as my grandmother often said growing up, there's a dead cat on the line and the son of a biscuit is stinking. And that's exactly what's happening right now.
So all you said was stay vigilant. That was the post?
That's right. And I want to be unequivocally clear that what I shared was no different than many of my colleagues in elected office, what they share every single day and what they shared during this time as ICE was coming into many of our communities. And it was simply public information from government channels. It was not done to harm ICE. It was done to convey urgency to families who live in fear of this agency and of this administration so that they can make decisions to protect themselves. And that is part of what it means to be a representative. That's what I was elected to do. I do it for those who voted for me, for those who didn't vote for me, for those who can't vote for me yet, ensuring that people have the information they need, even when it's uncomfortable.
And again, I mean, this is literal harassment, courtesy of Libs of TikTok. And so what have you had to contend with and deal with?
Yeah, it's been a rough couple of days for sure. We certainly have been shaken, but we're not moved. So I have received nasty phone calls and threatening phone calls from folks who have claimed to be former government agents who have claimed that they know where my family lives. They have also mentioned the states in which they've lived, that they were coming for me. They've shared racial epithets in their calls. I've had people say that they want to execute me, that I should be hung and lynched. It goes on and on. And so this has started a whole new thing because the many people who have reached out have said that this has now been shared over 2 million times, viewed over 2 million times by people all across this country, reshared in many Trump pro-Trump signals and pro-Trump outlets, the same with pro-conservative outlets. They wrote about it for many days, and the harassment and the threats just continue to come. And it's unacceptable, especially what's more unacceptable is that the Department of Homeland Security and Department of Justice have actually pretty much not doubled down from what they've said at the time. They acknowledge that they regularly amplify posts from groups outside of government, including groups like Libs of TikTok, which reshared mine. And the Department of Justice has said through the New York Times that they will not tolerate actions that disclose the location of law enforcement, which again is not what I did.
And so, and again, the problem that we have now is the thug in chief has thug agencies that are doing his dirty work, and they don't care about due process at all or facts.
That's right. You're absolutely right. And look, this moment is for everyone because people should remember, whether you're black, brown, white, Asian, whatever you are, you have to remember that the Constitution guarantees us something. The 5th and 14th Amendments say that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, and property without due process of law. That language is deliberate. It says no citizen. I'm sorry, excuse me. It does not say no citizen. It says no person. So due process for us means fair treatment. It means notice. It means a chance to defend yourself and protections against fundamental rights being stripped away without a compelling reason. And our courts up to now have made it very clear that those protections will and have applied to everyone in U.S. jurisdiction, including non-citizens. And that's the principle which separates democracy from tyranny.
Absolutely. And so what security precautions have you taken? Have you had to, get folks outside of where you live, where you work? So how are you protecting yourself?
You know, I don't want to go into too much detail about that, but I will tell you that protection is a top priority for me and certainly my family. But I'll also say it should be a top priority for every elected official in this country. If you're just simply doing your job, which you were elected to do, for which you've taken an oath to do, it is nearly unconscionable for us to believe that if you are threatened, that you don't have access to protection or security for yourself and for your family. And that is just that's not a far cry from what we've just seen happen in Minnesota a couple of weeks ago. And what we might see in the future. Again, it's Corey Parris today. It was the Speaker of the House of Minnesota a couple of weeks ago. It could be any person tomorrow. And that's why it's so important to raise the alarm on what's happening right now in this country.
Absolutely. We're Representative Parris. Take care of yourself. We appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
All right, folks. Got to go to a break. We come back. How stupid is Donald Trump in the White House? Now they're making up their own history regarding the Texas Revolution when we all know it was about racism and slavery. Yep. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Be sure to donate by using, if you want to do Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Use that QR code. Check some money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send it to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Next on A Balanced Life, here on Black Star Network, we're talking what it means to be a balanced young adult and turning 21. I know 21 is one of those ages where you think you're grown. You can do whatever you want. The law says that you can. But what are you packing in your 21-year-old toolkit that will allow you to not only survive, but to thrive?
You have every right to make whatever decision that you want to make, okay? Because you're grown. Don't go out here and do something and then want to come back and expect somebody else to clean it up for you.
That's all this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, we welcome the Black Star Network's very own Roland Martin, who joins us to talk about his new book, White Fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. The book explains so much about what we're going through in this country right now, and how, as white people head toward becoming a racial minority, it's going to get, well, let's just say, even more interesting.
We are going to see more violence. We're going to see more vitriol, because as each day passes, it's it is a nail in that coffin.
The one and only Roland Martin on the next Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change,
300,000 Black women being pushed out of the workforce.
This is shocking yet unsurprising.
So what happens when a bunch of Black mothers lose their federal job? Their kids are not being fed. Their kids are not being taken care of. But that trickles down to the entire community structure, which may be built on the backs of Black mothers and Black women more broadly.
Tune in on the other side of change, only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Russell L. Honoré, Lieutenant General, United States Army, retired, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, the Department of Education, Trump's Department of Education, says George Mason University in Virginia violates civil rights laws by using race and other personal traits in hiring and promotions. A federal investigation determined GMU gave preference to candidates from underrepresented groups, policies that, according to the department, unlawfully discriminated based on race. University has 10 days to accept a resolution agreement. If approved, GMU will be required to stop all race-based hiring, issue an apology, revise its recruitment policies, and provide annual civil rights training. Now, this is the same university that the Trump folks want the black president to resign. They've been putting pressure on him to do so, and it's the latest attack, again, on black people. See, I keep trying to tell y'all what's going on, see? I ain't making this stuff up. They are attacking everybody black. They're attacking a black woman on the Federal Reserve. They're attacking him. This is what they do. They are constantly attacking New York State Attorney General Letitia James. He's attacking D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. And so this is an absolutely anti-black, white nationalist, white supremacist administration. Period. Not even a conversation. Now, you know they real mad about this one. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, you know, the man, all the back and forth, who was sitting down in Salvador, then came back. Then they indicted him, claiming he was human trafficking in Tennessee. And then a federal judge told him that's some bullshit, let him out of prison. Well, guess what? He was released from federal custody months after he was wrongfully deported to a prison in El Salvador. Plus, falsely accused of being a gang member. And they still running around saying he's a gang member. U.S. Magistrate Judge Barbara Holmes, one of the Middle District of Tennessee, ordered his release from a jail near Nashville. He's now en route to reunite with his family in Maryland. He has 48 hours to arrive at his brother's home in suburban Maryland, where he is permitted to live under a set court-imposed conditions. He's also required to check in with immigration officials at the ICE Baltimore field office. Now, you know that is absolutely driving them crazy, Michael, because they try to make him the poster child, and we see the games that they're playing. There's nothing these people say that I trust. Nothing. If Donald Trump says, wow, it's a gorgeous day, blue skies, I'm going to look up and double and triple check, because they are liars.
Well, yeah, they're liars, and this is pure evil. And this is an authoritarian power grab. So this is good news here for Kilmar Abrego Garcia. We'll see how all this plays out. But, you know, all of this is connected. And, you know, I've said before on this show, Roland, that, you know, white supremacy and racism, it targets all black people regardless of a place of origin, the language you speak, or your religion. And also it targets non-white people. So just thinking because they're going after Latinos, they're not coming after black people also. No, they're attacking all of us at the same time. So we really have to wake up and look at what's going on, because some of us think that because of our proximity to white supremacy, it protects us from white supremacy. No, it doesn't. They're coming for all of us. So when you go to the story about Texas and slavery, then I'll comment on that hopefully as well.
Matt?
Well, you know, I think the last part of what Michael said is what stood out to me most prominently, which is, you know, there is a myth that your proximity to whiteness or power, really power structures, somehow insulates you from, you know, being on the chopping block. And what you see is that the opposite is true. This woman, Miss Cook, who's the first black woman ever on the Federal Reserve. I mean, you have to be eminently qualified to be on the Federal Reserve Board. You know that, right? But what you do is when you want to attack black people, you make any conversation about a black person who doesn't fit your ideological stance one of meritocracy always, right? Like this brother, Dr. Washington at George Mason, is eminently qualified. I was reading his background. He's got 3 degrees in mechanical engineering, right? Former dean in mechanical engineering at Ohio State. I mean, this brother is eminently qualified. But the moment you see a black person in power, I mean, if you have a fundamental belief that black people should not be in power, then you automatically equate that with them not having the merit to be where they are. And that is what is so problematic about this administration, is because there are not any value judgments of people based on what they're actually doing. It's purely based on how they look and your fundamental belief that they should not be where they are. And, you know, I think Michael's right. I think not only are they coming for our Latino brothers and sisters, they're coming for us, and they're not hiding that fact. And it does not matter what kind of education you have, what kind of bona fides you've had in your career. If you are black, you do not deserve to be there, period, in their eyes, and you will therefore always be a target of attack.
And right, because for them, at the end of the day, Julian, they only think white people, especially white men, are qualified. I mean, hell, these. Do you know how, Julian? Do you know how dumbass these people are? These people are mad. They mad at Cracker Barrel. They literally are. Again, I don't understand why. Somebody, I saw a post, somebody said the crackers mad at Cracker Barrel. I cracked up laughing. But they literally are mad that Cracker Barrel changed their logo and said Cracker Barrel went woke. Like, what the hell? I mean, these truly are some of the dumb, and then Byron,
still Cracker Barrel.
And then Byron Donald's dumb ass talking about how he got, oh my goodness, he upset because he got saved. He got saved. He declared Jesus as Lord and Christ and Savior in a Cracker Barrel in a parking lot. Really?
Roland, please.
I'm serious. They crazy. I mean, they mad at Cracker Barrel. They mad.
No,
hold on, Julian. Julian, they so mad. They mad at Cracker Barrel. So now, when you walk in the Cracker Barrel, you ain't walking to no damn country ass store. You walking to the restaurant. They mad all that country shit. Man, I'm like, boy, y'all some ignorant ass people causing their stock price to go down. These people are insane. Go ahead.
They have allowed their racism. They have allowed their racism to drive them insane. I mean, the examples you're giving, the one that I want to just pick up on, because Dr. Lisa Cook, a fellow black woman economist, impeccable credentials. You know, this man has thumbs and civility goes out the window. He doesn't know how to say anything that makes sense. He reduces himself, but he's already reduced, to calling people out of their name, calling them, you know, he did that with Kamala. He had all these names for her, has these names for people. But Dr. Cook is doing a good job. The only problem he has with Dr. Lisa Cook is that if she resigns, he has a vacancy on the Fed, and he can basically change the tone and tenor of what happens with interest rates. The members of the Fed, the 7 members of the Fed, essentially choose the heads of the 12 regional Fed members. And the 5 of those actually have input into interest rates. So he's basically going to take over the economy. But, you know, when he was elected, he said he was going to manage the economy. How's that turning out for us? Frankly, the tariffs are going to increase inflation. You already see people talking about that. The unemployment is steady but drifting downward, and all the American women lost their jobs. In fact, African American women are the only group that had their labor force participation rate drop. The only group that had a significant drop in labor force participation. Now, some of the other groups might have 0.1, 0.2, but basically we had a 10%, 1%, which is like 10% drop in labor force participation. They have allowed their racism to drive them nuts, and we see it every day. I don't even know why they let this man go to a microphone. And by the way, you know, you don't have to be white adjacent as some black people think they are. You could be plain old white like John Bolton.
Listen,
Your house will be raided
for the life of
if
me,
you
I
disagree
don't.
with this man. We really are moving into a crazy oligarchy where you said the man was stupid on CNN, and the next thing you know, your house is raided, your office is raided. You're not even there. Your wife, who
Listen. We know how ignorant these people are. Y'all, I gotta stay on the Cracker Barrel thing. Y'all, this is what Byron Donalds tweeted. In college, I worked at Cracker Barrel in Tallahassee. I even gave my life to Christ in their parking lot. Their logo was iconic, and their unique restaurants were a fixture of American culture. No one asked for this woke rebrand. It's time to make Cracker Barrel great again.
Oh my God.
Y'all, this is literally the logo. Y'all, this is the old ass Cracker Barrel logo of an old white man leaning against the barrel in a chair, and it says Old Country Store. This is what they mad at. Y'all, I'm like, y'all ain't got that much time on y'all hands. Now y'all know, as a matter of fact, the AI people are so quick. Look at this here. Oh, it gets better. It gets better because you know somebody had to go ahead and just turn the audio up. They dropped this using AI.
I was serving up the biscuits, gravy on the side, wiping down tables, just trying to survive. When the preacher came in, ordered chicken fried. He left me a pamphlet, said, son, don't you hide. I clocked out early, had something to think. Took my sweet tea outside, leaned on the sink. I found God in a Cracker Barrel parking lot, by the dumpsters and the smell of tater tots. He said, son, you've been lost, but you're not forgot. I found God in a Cracker Barrel parking lot. Flickered on that old country store.
I mean, Matt, these people are ignorant, man. They are these ignorant MAGA fools are just mad, upset. But here's what somebody said. Here's the real deal. They're mad because Cracker Barrel has a white female CEO, and for them, they just put, now they've got the Cracker Barrel logo under woke.
Well, first off, I gotta say, shout out to @AceVane on Instagram. I actually just texted it to you, Roland. He did a thing with the Cracker Barrel logo. That's one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. So you got to see that. But I mean, I think you're right, and that's the interesting thing you bring up, because when we talk about DEI, how many times have you said on this show who is the biggest recipient of DEI policies? It's white women. It is not black people. So the idea that people are angry about this is really an extension of what you've seen them be angry about other things, and this loss of Americana and really this loss of whiteness. I'll give you an example. There's the local sheriff in the county I live in all the time always says, we want to return our community to safety. We want to go back to Mayberry. And every time he says that, I'm like, does he not realize that there were no black people in Mayberry? You are telling me how you feel about us without saying it. And that's what we're seeing. That's what this is. People are mad about anything that they think is woke or woke adjacent. And this is the most asinine thing to be mad about. If you like Cracker Barrel's food, go eat their food, but who cares about the logo? This is more an extension of they think their America is being taken. And that's what we're seeing.
It's all white supremacy, white nationalism, and they just telling on themselves, Michael.
Well, absolutely. You know, to say ignorant, what'd you say? Ignorant MAGA fools. That's redundant, okay? Because that's a redundant statement right there. Oh. But yeah, MAGA is ignorant. It's a cult, okay? And when you listen to these people, they don't make any sense, but it's like they live in an alternate universe, okay? And, you know, white supremacy is a powerful drug. And what it does is it causes them to vote for people who are really against their own interests. When we talk about rural America, they're going to be devastated by the big ass ugly bill.
No, Michael. No, Michael. That stuff means nothing. They're going to be devastated because the Cracker Barrel logo is changed.
Well, look,
they like what? Crackers. See, they walk around like, damn it, what happened to my cracker? Where did my cracker go? Why did my cracker in the chair, in the barrel, why they left?
It's like, look, people, it's the same food. It's the same food. It's the same food, okay? So, but
no, Michael, it ain't the same, Michael. They got rid of my cracker.
Okay.
They got rid of my cracker. So go ahead, finish your point.
Yeah. Well, these are the type of cultural wars that they get distracted with while their health care is being cut, while their hospitals are being shut down, while the cost of their food that they already can't afford is going up. They get distracted with these culture wars, and this is how...
This ain't even a culture war. It's a fucking Cracker Barrel logo.
No, but it's part of the white supremacist culture.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. They took the white man leaning on. They took the white man leaning on a barrel. Ain't like they put a black woman in some cowboy boots.
But the erasure of the white man in their mind is the white replacement theory. Okay, the Roland. These are some crazy ass.
Hey, people. I already know that, dog. Hold up. So Matt.
So talk about they went woke. That's an attack on DEI. So all that kicks in.
Yeah, I know.
White supremacy is a powerful drug.
I know. And they all crackheads. Matt sent me Ace Vane. What y'all? So now the crack. So here we go. Let me set it up. The Cracker Barrel logo speaks.
Hello, I'm the Cracker from Cracker Barrel. And y'all know I sat on that damn logo for 48 damn years. Longer than a snake deep throating a giraffe neck. Then overnight, you got this diverse, evil, ignorant, or DEI group of people taking over our marketing, talking about we need a rebrand. Then poof, I'm going faster than a black man driving through Alabama. How you gonna rebrand without debrand? I'm the goddamn reason people come to Cracker Barrel. How you gonna have a place called Cracker Barrel without a cracker leaning on a barrel? I mean, what's next, America? A black female Popeyes manager that doesn't fight her customers. Cracker Barrel needs a cracker and a barrel. And I'm the coldest cracker son of a bitch to ever lean on a barrel this side of a Mississippi. Hell, maybe both sides. But don't you go worry about your old boy Cracker. I got a little nest egg and I'll find something to lean on, I always have. But it's a damn shame what y'all done let happen to old Barrel. Who the hell out here finna hire me, bro? Nobody hiring barrels. I might as well just jump in the fucking fireplace, bro.
Oh shit, this nigga dead, y'all. Oh no, man. When this happened, niggas dying dead, ain't never died before. Jesus, why ain't nobody tell his dumb ass to die?
Oh, Ace Bane. That matter of fact, hold up. So, I didn't realize. I didn't know. I had never heard of Ace Bane, and I just pulled it, and I realized he followed me. He follows me. Ace Bane will earn himself a follow. I'm not following him. That was funny as hell, Matt.
Yeah, I died yesterday when I saw it. I didn't even know. I knew nothing about it, and then I saw the video, and I just lost it. But I love all his stuff. He's hilarious, and I just thought that was a funny take and germane to what we're talking about now.
That is absolutely. I'm telling you, it is beyond hilarious. And these people are just beside. I mean, they are literally losing their mind, Julian. They are mad as hell about Cracker Barrel changing the logo.
You know, that is hilarious. Whoever the brother sent it out, right out onto him. I mean, I'm sitting here almost falling off my chair because it was hilarious. But at the same time, it does illustrate, not only, as I said, these people's racism has caused them to lose their minds, their whole minds. But the other piece of it is the distraction of what Michael said earlier, the distractionary tactics. So they're on Cracker Barrel, they ain't got no money. Excuse my ebonics, but they ain't got no money, but they're worried about a logo, a cracker and a barrel. Just like this man is afraid that we'll learn something about his hijinks with Jeffrey Epstein, so he's going after our museum. And they major in the minor because the major will convict them. They major in the minor. They look at the Latino museum. What president has ever had that kind of involvement in the weeds of a museum? I mean, we fought hard to get that museum.
Hold on. I'm gonna hold up, y'all. See, y'all gotta stop trying to get ahead of stuff. I'm gonna get to that in a second, but I need y'all to stay focused on crackers and Cracker Barrel, okay? I need y'all to stay focused.
You want to be focused on crackers.
Somebody posted this tweet. I think it's hilarious. It said, "White replacement theory. MAGA is pissed. They took the cracker out of Cracker Barrel." That's a funny tweet. and again, they are mad because. This is the woman who's the CEO, and because Cracker Barrel supports LGBTQ, some alliance, they say, woke CEO Cracker Barrel changed his logo after 47 years. Well, damn. Ain't that a shame? Hell, guess what? I guess they're gonna get mad because Snapple changed their damn bottles. Oh, Lord, what the hell we gonna do? And my goodness, this ain't like Coke changing to New Coke. This ain't even right. It's a logo. Y'all, they some ignorant ass people. Let me go. I'm telling you, I can't listen. They just ignorant. You know when Marjorie Taylor Greene says we need our own country, you know what? I endorse that. Please ship all them dumbasses somewhere else. Or you know what? They always talk about go back to Africa. Take y'all ass back to Europe, please. Damn. Let me go to a break. We come back, y'all. I got to talk about these dumbass White House people who don't know nothing about history. They ain't read nothing, don't know nothing. They stuck on stupid. Wait till I show y'all what these fools actually posted on the official White House website. If anybody out there, if y'all voted for this fool, y'all got to own this. And if you black, your ass ain't never get invited to the cookout. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you win $1 billion and give it all to HBCUs. If you were that stupid to vote for this dumbass, you are really a fool. And if you black, walk around with a MAGA hat, you probably eat at Cracker Barrel. I'll be back.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, Black Americans have 1/10 the wealth of their white counterparts. But how did we get here? It's a huge gap. Well, that's why we need to know the history and what we need to do to turn our income into wealth. Financial author and journalist Rodney Brooks joins us to tell us exactly what we need to do to achieve financial success.
You can't talk about why we are, as Black people, where we are, unless you talk about how we got here.
Bridging the gap and getting wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change,
300,000 Black women being pushed out of the workforce.
This is shocking yet unsurprising.
So what happens when a bunch of Black mothers lose their federal job? Their kids are not being fed. Their kids are not being taken care of. But that trickles down to the entire community structure, which may be built on the backs of Black mothers and Black women more broadly.
Tune in on the other side of change, only on the Black Star Network.
This is Tamala Mann.
And this is David Mann. And you're watching Roland Martin
Unfiltered.
After just 2 years, Howard University looking for a new president. Ben Vinson III, who joined August of 2023, is stepping down at the end of the month. His departure comes just days into the new academic year. The board appointed Wayne A.I. Frederick, the former Howard University president and graduate, to be the interim president. Now, of course, he retired in 2022. Vincent's last day will be August 31st, with Frederick assuming the role the following day. During his tenure, Howard continued to attract high-profile scholars. However, this summer, the university faced controversy when a new payment system error caused massive problems with students, causing them to be mistakenly marked delinquent on their tuition bills, prompting threats of collections. In response, some Howard students organized protests, and parents were pissed off as well because of all of the drama. Well, folks, speaking of drama, we got to deal with these dumbasses in the White House. Now, Trump somehow thinks that he can run the Kennedy Center. He thinks that he's the damn curator of the Smithsonian. Hell, he actually said this here, y'all, that he was the chief law enforcement officer of the country. Now, of course, we talked earlier, one of our panelists mentioned John Bolton getting his house, his home raided. Y'all, pull the clip up where Trump is standing before the people and he tried to say he didn't know about it, but then again, he says he the nation's top cop.
They'll brief me, probably today sometime.
And the Foreign Minister...
I don't want, I tell Pam and I tell the group, I don't want to know, but just you have to do what you have to do. I don't want to know about it. It's not necessary. I could know about it. I could be the one starting it. I'm actually the chief law enforcement officer, but I feel that it's better this way.
That dumbass is not a chief law enforcement officer. Pull the video back up and freeze it. Y'all see that stupid ass hat he got on? Trump was right about everything. His dumb ass is wrong about nearly everything. Y'all, this is what they got on the White House website. And they've been attacking the Smithsonian saying, oh, they have these wrong exhibits. President Trump is right about the Smithsonian. So you go through this article, and it says the National Museum of African American History and Culture debuted a series to educate people, quote, on a society that privileges white people in whiteness, defining so-called white dominant culture as ways white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time, and portraying the nuclear family, work ethic, and intellect as white qualities rooted in racism. All true. And so then they're attacking, look at this here. The campaign featured content from a hardcore woke activist, Ibram X. Kendi. Okay, so check this out. Okay, so they got other complaints, National Portrait Gallery. But this is the one that jumped. Look at this here. The National Museum of African Art display an exhibit on works of speculative fiction that bring to life an immersive, feminist, and sacred aquatopia inspired by the legend of Drexia, an underwater kingdom populated by the children of pregnant women who've been thrown overboard or jumped into the ocean during the Middle Passage. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all mad about that slavery thing again? All right, so y'all check this out. So they criticize the American History Museum's LGBTQ history exhibit. Then they criticize the National Museum of American Latino as well. But this is the one that I want to talk about. Y'all, it says the National Museum of the American Latino characterizes the Texas Revolution as a massive defense of slavery waged by white Anglo-Saxon settlers against an anti-slavery Mexicans fighting for freedom, not a Texan war of independence for Mexico, and frames the Mexican-American War as the North American invasion that was unprovoked and motivated by pro-slavery politicians. That's true. Y'all, when we talk about his story and history, his story means white man's his story. See, I'm born and raised in Houston, and every student in Texas in the 7th grade is required to learn Texas history. Now, y'all understand, the book is about that thick. I'm not lying, about that thick. So, growing up, remember the Alamo! Remember the Alamo! It was always talked about. And Davy Crockett and the others, they were portrayed as these righteous men who were fighting those Mexican savages. And these righteous men were standing up on behalf of Texas. And then we had the great Sam Houston and the great Stephen F. Austin and Milam and all of these characters, and how they were just these fine, upstanding men who wanted to free Texas from the shackles of the decrepit and the evil and the savage Mexicans. Except they left out a couple of things. Remember when I called out the History Channel, that bullshit docuseries, where they talked about Texas independence? All they kept saying, Texas independence, fighting for Texas independence. Well, see, if you're going to say you're fighting for Texas independence, well, you need to say you're fighting to be independent of what? And the fact is, the Texas Revolution was trying for the white Anglo-Saxons to steal Texas from Mexico. The white Anglo-Saxons in Texas, Stephen F. Austin, Sam Houston, David Crockett, and others, they wanted to be free from Mexico. Why? Because Mexico outlawed slavery. If you read, and we got the interview of the great historian Gerald Horne, his book on this very issue. In his book, he talks about how people of African descent who were enslaved were literally escaping across the border. Thousands were escaping to Mexico because they were free. It got to the point where these white Anglo-Saxons were literally crossing state lines to capture them in Mexico and drag them back. So it is a fundamental fact that the Texas Revolution, the fight for Texas independence, was over slavery. Period. That's what it was there. So what these white supremacists in the White House, they are not upset because the truth is actually being told. That's what they're mad about. They mad that the truth is actually being told. Because see, what they want is, they want to continue this fictionalized version of Texas independence. Oh my goodness, it's Texas independence. We can't actually tell people really what Texas independence is actually about. Because if we do that, then, oh my God, people are gonna actually know what they were fighting against. I did something on this, and I said this. You know, former Texas Governor Rick Perry, he decided to create a trophy for the winner of the Texas A&M University of South Carolina game. And so he was trying to figure out, we need a trophy. Let's get a trophy. So what can we do if we create this trophy? So he was like, hey, let's create the Bonham Trophy. Oh my God, it's the Bonham Trophy. So if we create the Bonham Trophy, then that'll be the thing that we can award to the winner. And so they decided to say, yeah, we need the Bonham Trophy. That's what we need. And so y'all, give me 1 second. So this here is a photo of the Bonham Trophy. And so this is the trophy that the winner of the annual Texas A&M South Carolina game receives. Ooh, that's a great, look at this here. We got this man, he's on a horse and he's holding a gun and oh my goodness, and he's holding it up. Only problem is, who's Bonham? Who's Bonham? This is a Sports Illustrated story. And, the Bonham Trophy is named and modeled after Alamo battle hero James Bonham. It was commissioned in 2013 by former Texas Governor Rick Perry and then South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. So Nikki Haley and Rick Perry commissioned a Confederate statue because the Alamo was a battle with the Mexican army, Santa Anna, because of slavery. Now y'all see what these white supremacists are trying to do. They are angry. Trump and Matt, they hate history because they believe in his story. And that is a fundamental problem. And what they are going to try to do, Michael, is they are going to spend the next 3.5 years desperately trying to rewrite history. We're going to see a farce of history next year when the United States celebrates its 250th anniversary. They're going to be promoting lies. I'm not calling them falsehoods or mischaracterizations. I'm calling them lies. And them attacking this premise right here shows you how much of a liar Donald Trump and these idiots in his administration really are.
Yeah, absolutely, Roland. And this is, and just so people understand the connected dots, this is a continuation of what Trump did in the first administration, except it's even worse now. Because remember, in his first administration, he attacked the 1619 Project. He created the 1776 Project. He brought together those historians to create that. And he also signed that memo that banned critical race theory in training for federal employees. That was September 2020. That's what really kicked off that anti-critical race theory movement. But what you're saying is spot on. And I read the piece from the Independent that talks about this. Trump advisor leading Smithsonian Review says D.C. museums place overemphasis on slavery. And they talk about the Texas Revolution here in this piece. And they cite the Texas Historical Association. And they say the Texas Historical Association considers slavery, which formed a key part of the then frontier territory's early economy, quote, an underlying cause of the struggle, end quote, with Mexico, which was pushing to abolish slavery at the time. And Mexico actually abolished slavery in 1829. So when they set up the Alamo, they set up that settlement, the U.S. had slaves in violation of Mexican law, and they were fighting to preserve that. Now, what was lost on a lot of people, because when I was a little kid, I saw the movie The Alamo with John Wayne, and, they portrayed Davy Crockett and things like that, and Jim Bodie. They really didn't talk about that in that movie. Okay, no, they were fighting to preserve slavery. So this is the nonsense. This is the white supremacists, white nationalists, white Christian nationalism that they're pushing, and they attack history, okay? They're attacking history at the same time attacking voting rights. Because if we can limit your understanding of the past and restrict your ability to vote in the present, then we can control the laws and policies of the future. This is exactly what they're doing. This is why your show is so important, to educate people and fight against this nonsense. I can't hear.
Of course, Matt. What's hilarious here is they're so angry at facts. They're so angry at historical representations, and they want to lie. And again, Texas independence. That's why every year when Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick is posting, "Hey, Texas Independence Day," and then I post, "Hey, it's Happy We Love Slavery Day." Because guess what? When Texas gained its independence, guess who stayed slaves? Not the white people.
Hello.
Yeah, and it's deeper than that. I mean, obviously, you and I are both native Texans. We both took that 7th grade history class. I think your text for that class was on papyrus. Might not have been bound. Mine was in a book, but that's just because we're different.
No, actually, mine was in a book, but yours probably had more pictures.
Maybe so.
Because my class, when I was in the 7th grade, we could actually read. But go right ahead.
I don't know. I don't know how long it takes to make a tablet with a hand.
Yeah, go right ahead. Nice try. Nice try. Go on, Mr. Pictorial.
So I live about an hour from Goliad, right? And I grew up in Austin, named after Stephen F. Austin. down the road from San Antonio. I've probably been to the Alamo 30 times, on field trips and all that kind of stuff. And I think one of the things that people need to realize is in Texas, mythology is huge, right? So it's not only that this is not the true history, but a core tenet of Texas culture is lionizing these people and lying about what they did and the real motivations of what they did. And one thing I wanted to add to Michael's point that people don't realize is Spain actually abolished slavery in Mexico, right? And then in 1829, like he said, Mexico abolished slavery, but it actually separated Coahuila y Tejas, which was what became what became the state of Texas. And Stephen F. Austin and his compatriots thanked the Mexican president for carving out for Texas its ability to maintain slavery. So that shows you that slavery was a fundamental issue. And, it's exactly right. And I think what's interesting about that is in Texas, it's not just about slavery where we're dishonest. I mean, people don't realize that the Texas Rangers massacred Hispanic people in the state of Texas, right? But we don't talk about that. I mean, I know many Texas Rangers personally. They are fine law enforcement officers. The ones I've all worked with have been the cream of the crop. But the point is that agency has a very sordid history, but we don't talk about that as Texans because that does not fit the mythology that we want to have, which is, the Lone Star State and the frontier spirit and all of that. And really, it was about slavery. And I think you're exactly right to call it out. It's so important to call it out, especially because what we're seeing is people try to make tantamount to their culture or their right to have, some connection to their history, this idea that the actual history that's inimical to that is dishonest. When we know that the truth is slavery is the reason that they wanted Texas independence. And slavery is the reason Texas was the last bastion of the Confederacy, because that's what they wanted. They wanted slaves, but that doesn't fit into our mythology here in the state of Texas. And that's why people overlook it. And, it's back to the same conversation we were having earlier about the White House and the truth about crime stats. It isn't about the truth. It's about vibes. And the vibes come from telling white people that their country is being stolen. So you don't have the real conversations about what this country was then and now and what has made it what it is now, i.e. slavery and the attempt to keep it here in the state of Texas.
Roland, tomorrow, Congressman Al Green, your Texas brother, is holding a celebration of national enslavement. He calls Slavery Remembrance Day. He introduced legislation, and in 2022, President Biden actually recognized the day. Of course, the legislation has never passed, and it won't pass now, given the current White House. But I'll be speaking tomorrow, and I will begin. The event is being held at the U.S. Capitol. In the beginning, my talk is there will be no U.S. Capitol where enslaved people. Not only will there be no capital, there will be no cotton, no rice, no bond market. But see, this is, to piggyback on what Brother Man just said, it's an inconvenient truth for folks to acknowledge the foundational contribution that enslaved people have made to this country. They want to paint us as dependents, but actually we're philanthropists. We have given more to this country than we would ever get. And so from that perspective, we have to call the lies again and again and again. This country would be half a country because some Europeans would have come over from the other side, the western part of the country, or the Spanish would have come through California and conquered. So were it not for enslavement, there would be no United States of America. And that's what makes the likes, like the man who lives in a house that enslaved people built, that's what makes the likes of him squirm. That's what makes him become so petty to try to go through museums. I guess he doesn't have, excuse my language, but shit else to do. He's supposed to be running the economy. He's supposed to be dealing with immigration. But what he's actually doing is attacking Black people, attacking history, attacking the truth. They cannot stand the truth. When you confront them with the truth and topple those putrid statues, they start complaining, make America great again. I went on the whitehouse.gov website. I couldn't get it all the way up. My internet is acting janky today. But I went on there when you mentioned that letter that he has up there, and it's about welcome to greatness. What is the greatness? When you have people roaming the streets under the guise of law, stopping people. You said you were going to fix the economy. He has messed up the DC economy because first of all, you've got the exodus of federal workers, not exodus, the firing of so many federal workers. And now you have ICE overrunning the place. And basically many of our restaurants, clubs, etc., are closing. If they're not closing Saturday night, 14th Street, the young lady told me, she said her favorite place closed at 10 p.m. Usually it's open. Usually they beg to keep it open after 2 a.m. Closed at 10 p.m. because nobody was there. This is what this man has done. He's attempting to destroy America. If I didn't know any better, I would think that he was, well, he is Putin's best friend, but I would think that he came here essentially as a president to destroy this country. But let me say one quick thing last. It's not just about him. This man has gone bankrupt I don't know how many times. Who is behind him? Who props him up? These are the oligarchs who don't want to necessarily make America white again, because if America were white again, they couldn't survive. So white women didn't even know how to feed their children. So enslaved women showed them how to.
No. They want to make America white-led again. See, they don't want and white men. Let's be real clear. They don't want black people, Latinos, Asian Americans, Native Americans, but they don't even want white women. It's real clear what their agenda is. It's real clear. And listen, national media, shame on them for Peter Hegseth retweeting his misogynistic pastor in that video where that pastor said he didn't want women voting. And national media is all silent. All right, y'all, that is it for us. I appreciate y'all be on the show today. Let me thank Julian. Let me thank Michael and Matt. You can get back your pictorial Texas history book. All right.
I knew it was coming.
Oh, hell yeah, it was coming. Absolutely. And when Michael mentioned John Wayne in the movie The Alamo, that was perfect casting because John Wayne was an absolute racist and white supremacist. An absolute racist who did not believe that black people were prepared to have jobs after the civil rights movement. Y'all, Google that shit. He was a racist, and that's why I'ma always call his punk ass out. All right, y'all, that's it for us. Before we go, let me shout out my man. Let me do this here, y'all. Turn the audio up. My man Kim has a new single out today. I told him I'm gonna give him a shout out. Come on, turn the audio up. Come on, audio, guys. Let's hear it.
I want you to ride with me.
So Kim has a new song called "Rock with Me," and so y'all download his new song. So always showing some love to the homie Kim, and so congratulations. He's now gone independent again, and he is has his own record label, Chemistry Records, no longer with Motown. So always gotta show some love to my man Kim. As well. Again, shout out to my parents and my sister and our family. Today's the 1 year anniversary of my sister Kenya. She passed away on this day a year ago. We were at the Democratic National Convention when I got the call of her passing. And so certainly our love, thoughts, and prayers, not my parents, siblings, but also her 4 daughters as well. Folks, that's it for us. Tomorrow, I'm going to be in Jackson, Mississippi. Speaking, give me 1 second. Let me read it for you. I'm going to be there giving a keynote speech for the Institute for Advancement of Minority Health in Jackson, Mississippi. So we're looking forward to that. It's called Prevention, Power, and Progress, the Future of Black Men's Health. We will be there at the Benny Thompson Academic and Civil Rights Research Center on the campus of Tougaloo College. And so look forward to, I think this will be my first time at Tougaloo. So look forward to that. Y'all better be sure to give me some swag so I can wear it on the show, Tougaloo. And so again, we'll be there. My keynote will be between 12:45 and 1:45 tomorrow. All right, folks. That's tomorrow. And then Monday, I'll be live from Atlanta. Chris Tucker is having his celebrity golf tournament. I'm handling his auction. So I'll be live from Atlanta on actually Monday and Tuesday because I've got some sitting down with Pastor Jamal Bryan and his podcast on Tuesday as well. So I'll be broadcasting Roland Martin Unfiltered from Atlanta Monday and Tuesday. Folks, don't forget, support the work that we do here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. Of course, my show, the other shows we have on the network. We're building, we're expanding, trying to do more. And in fact, I'm looking to hire I'm looking for an amazing videographer and editor. I want somebody who is very creative. So when I'm doing these traveling, we can come back and put together some amazing videos. Also, when we do our one-on-ones, have them as a member of the team. And so listen, a lot of young folks out there, and so we want the ability to be able to edit things quickly for social media, but also for our show as well. And so if y'all got somebody, and if you're going to send a resume, you better send links to your work as well at Roland@blackstarnetwork.com. I'm going to post a job posting later today. But again, I'm looking for somebody who's really, really creative. And I'm talking about shooting video. I'm talking about editing video, utilizing drones. And so if you think you got the skills, send me an email, Roland@blackstarnetwork.com. Folks, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Of course, you want to support that work, Cash App. Use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Click the Cash App pay button to contribute. Also, if you want to send check and money order, send to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland@RolandSMartin.com, Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. You also, of course, can get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version I read on Audible. Also, folks, if you want to get our Black Star Network swag, you can check it out. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. We got our t-shirts, wall art, mugs, all kinds of stuff right there at shopblackstarnetwork.com. You see all these products to my right on my set? These are Black-owned products that are also on shopblackstarnetwork.com. You can get those products. Backpacks, we got shirts, we got all kind of other products for skincare, different food items as well. A lot of different Black-owned companies right there at shopblackstarnetwork.com. And of course, if you want to check out, again, all the products are there, shopblackstarnetwork.com in our marketplace. And don't forget, download the app, Fanbase. If you want to invest, they've almost about to hit 13 million. The goal is 17 million. Go to startengine.com/fanbase, startengine.com/fanbase. Again, startengine.com/fanbase. All right, I saw some of y'all comments in the group chat. Y'all were asking about the shirt I'm wearing. So you see right here, it says Black History, and you see all the names that are on here. Move a little closer so y'all can see. Or zoom in. Zoom in so y'all can see. So, I don't know. Somebody gave me this shirt. I can't tell you where I got it from. Somebody gave it to me. So I have no idea where I got this shirt from. I don't even know what city I was in where they sent me this shirt. So you see all the names of prominent. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep coming, keep zooming. So you see Dubois, Malcolm X, Maya Angelou, Madam C.J. Walker, Dr. King, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Ida B. Wells Barnett, Nat Turner, President Obama, Rosa Parks, and Marcus Garvey. And so, and of course, it spells Black History. So whoever gave me this shirt, I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. I have no idea where it came from. All right, folks, that's it. I'll see y'all Monday from Atlanta, right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. And yes, this is my new straw, my Stetson. So yes, I'm rocking this hat. And so my daddy gonna get no, I'm not sending you another hat. Okay, you already got one. Okay, you ain't getting this one. So don't be sending me a text. I know you're gonna send one, but it ain't happening. You already got a white Stetson. You good. All right, I'm gonna see y'all on Monday. Here are the names of all of our donors since we launched this show, September 4th, 2018. Holla!